show you exactly how I find profitable niches on Amazon KDP. And by the end of this video, you're going to be able to do the same. But here's the thing, I wasn't always able to find profitable niches. When I first started my KDP journey, I made the biggest mistake I could possibly make. And I'm not the only one. I see a bunch of people making this mistake, especially beginners. But what is this mistake? Well, first of all, they like to have an idea. Everyone always gets an idea right at the start and they're like, oh, I found an amazing idea for a book. Once they have the idea that comes from their mind, then they go and start making the book. And they spend time and energy and money making this random book, and then they publish it on KDP and they realize that it doesn't actually give them money. Why? Because it all came from their head. They had no data to back it up. They didn't do any niche research. They did nothing. And I fell in this trap as well. I started off trying to publish books that I was thinking about first instead of actually doing my research. I didn't even realize niche research was a thing. So if you just came up with an idea and you haven't done the research and you're trying to make a book, you do have a chance of succeeding. Very, very small chance though. You're basically relying on luck, and relying on luck is not going to build a business for you. So what are you supposed to do? What you're supposed to do is first you do the research and you find what's going to make you money first. And then when you know that it's going to make you money, that's when you start making the book. And you can spend time and energy making the book. Why? Because you know it's going to give you money. Once you know it's going to give you money, when you publish it, guess what happens? It actually gives you money, because you did the correct research from the start. That's how niche research works. One of it is backed by your mind. This is supposed to be a mind. And the other one is backed by data. You always want data. Why do you want data? Because data can help you make informed decisions. And you're not going to run a business without making informed decisions. This is how money is made in business. You make decisions based on data. Everything about KDP is about you making decisions based on data, not based on what your mind tells you is going to work or what's not going to work. You want the data to prove to you that this book is going to make you a bunch of money. So what are you actually looking for when you're doing niche research? Well, here's the thing. Every business, if you go on a business class or however you want to study business, they're always going to tell you about supply and demand. Okay, so here you have low, low, high, and high. What happens if you find a niche with low supply and low demand? Well, if the supply is low, what does that mean? That means there aren't many books. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let me ask you this. Let's say me and you are in a race. This is me and this is you. You're a little bit shorter than me, but that's okay. Me and you are in a race. Who has a higher chance of winning that race? Obviously me, because I'm the fastest man alive. But let's just pretend that we're equal speed. Who has the higher chance of winning that race? Well, it's most likely going to be a 50-50, because me and you were roughly the same speed, and either you win or I win. There's not really anyone else. But what if we add 2 more people to the mix? Who's going to win that race? Even if we imagine we're roughly the same speed. Well, now your chances of winning decrease. So you got 25. You have a 25% chance of winning. Well, what happens if we add even more people? What if we add 10 people to the mix? If we add 10 people, then our chances of winning, both mine and yours, dramatically decrease the more people that we add. But as soon as you start adding people, your chances of winning become lower and lower. The same applies for your supply when you're looking for niches to publish in. If your supply is super low, so only 3 people, then these are the only 3 people you're competing with. So you have a higher chance of beating them because there's less people to beat. But if your supply is high, then you have to compete against all of these people. Why? Because everyone has their own, when it comes to books anyway, everyone has their own unique book. And the more books there are, the higher the chance that you won't be able to make a better book than everyone else. Because this guy right here might be Penguin Publishing, massive company. This guy might be a massive company. This guy might be a massive company. Another self-publisher, this guy might have 10,000 reviews. Once you add more people, more supply to the mix, it's harder for you to compete. So you're trying to find a niche with a low supply. But let's assume we do find a niche with low supply. Do we want it to have low demand? Well, what does demand mean? Demand means I want to buy this book. And how do you know if people want to actually buy that book? You look at if the books are selling. So if you go in a niche with a low supply, which I would say low supply means around 2 to 8 books. It can go 10, it can go 9, it doesn't really matter. But if you're roughly here, it has a low supply because you have less people to compete with. If you find a niche with 4 books, that's amazing because you have super low supply. But even if you have low supply, if you have low demand, that's telling us that no one actually wants to buy these books. So if you go in a niche and there's 2 to 8 books and none of them are selling, what does that tell you? Well, that tells you that there's no demand because no one's actually buying it. What if 5 of them are selling? Is there demand? Sure, there is demand. Because if there's 8 books and 5 of them are selling, that means most of them are selling. So there is demand. So do you want to publish in a niche with a low supply and low demand? Probably not, right? Because even though there's not a lot of books, no one's actually buying them because the demand is low. What about high supply and low demand? Do you want to do that? Do you want to compete in a niche where there's a bunch of people making books, but no one's buying them? So there's no demand? Obviously not. Because not only are you competing with a bunch of people, no one's actually buying the books that you're making or everyone else is making. So you don't want any of these two. What about if you have low supply and high demand? Do you want to publish in a book where there's only 5 books and everyone is buying all the books? Yes, you do. Why? Because you know if you're the 6th book, your chance of actually getting some sales are extremely high because they're already buying all the other books in the niche. So you want to publish in a niche with a low supply and high demand. But there's one more left. What about high supply? High supply and high demand. Do you want to publish in a niche where there's a lot of people competing and there's also a lot of people buying? You might say, oh, you might have a chance. You might have a chance, but like I said here, you're competing against big publishers. This guy has thousands of reviews. This guy's been on Amazon for 3 years. The book's been selling for 3 years. It's built all that validation. This guy's an authority figure. Authority figure means he's like the best in the niche. He's number 1. So do you want to compete against all the big bosses here? Probably not. So personally, I wouldn't publish in this niche. So what niche are we supposed to publish in? Low supply and high demand.